Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming on out tonight. I'm David Brown, your host for session 3 of Mixed Doubles, tandem lectures on unrelated topics. Before we get into it, I came across this stat today, which I thought was kind of fun. Percentage of Americans who say that a chuckle best describes their laugh. According to a survey by Opinion Research Corporation, 41%. Percentage who say they have a giggle, 31%. Percentage who say they have a cackle, 8%. Percentage who say that they guffaw, 6%. And the percentage who say they snort for a laugh, 3%. Found it fascinating. We have 2 artists that are with us tonight, Emilio Martz and Nalia V, as she goes by, and they're going to be working during the whole time, and then some, and I'm going to leave it at that. So you saw the information about them up on the screen prior to, and make sure you come by and see what they're up to and give them a chat up. So tonight, well, you know how we started on off, usually with a quote, and I saw this by the writer who I really like, Paul Collins. His tendency to have a greatest hits approach to history or art, where a relatively small number of people or events are covered intensely, while many, many others are not. And I think that's one of the tenets behind the Mixed Doubles series too, because we try to celebrate the entire community. Of course, we have to have a round of applause for our sponsors. Union Institute of Arts and Winston-Salem Foundation, thank you very much for the support. Tonight we have a nice collision of topics and some wonderful presenters, Nikki Farrington and Trish Casey. I want to introduce Trish first. She's going to go on second, and Nikki's going to start it off. But as they may know, with the conversation with me, each speaker has 20 minutes without alluding to the other topic. And then one follows the other, and then there's combined Q&A where I bring both speakers up and the audience asks questions. And sometimes they try to stump you, so be prepared, it'll be fun. Trish got an MFA in dance from NYU's Tisch School for the Arts. It was Trish at Tisch. She got a BFA in contemporary dance from UNCSA here and attended the high school program as well. She's a professor in the contemporary dance program and has a joint faculty appointment with Division of Liberal Arts, although she recently retired after all those years and inspiring all the students. She's danced in the companies of Pauline Kohner, Don Redlich, and Marcia Plevin. She's had numerous teaching awards, and she's also taught at Victorian College of the Arts in Melbourne and the University of Southern Mississippi and Southern Methodist University. So that's Trish. Coming up on the stage here, Nikki Farrington, who some of you may know, either by face or action or food plate. A celebrated sous chef. She corrected me on that a little bit. But she has a really interesting background. She studied sociology in Chicago and worked in hospice. And I imagine did a lot of different jobs before coming into the food industry. And she'll tell you all about it. So please give a warm welcome to Nikki Farrington.
Thank you. Hello, friends. I'm kind of a loudmouth, but these kind of things make me nervous anyway. So if you saw me talk to people just one-on-one, you'd think, oh, I bet she could take the stage and she wouldn't be nervous at all. No, I'm terrified of these sort of things. But again, my name's Nikki Farrington. I'm a chef around town, and I'm the owner of Nikki's Pickles. And we sell those at different stores in town, but also at Cobblestone Farmers Market. I've been a chef for, I guess, almost 15 years, and I've had the pickle company for probably about 10. Before that, I was a social worker, as he mentioned, mainly with, actually almost entirely with older adults in death and dying, and maintaining them in their home as long as possible and providing sort of supportive services as they died. One of the cool things about that is you get to hear a lot, because food is so important in our intimacy. And so you hear a lot about, well, I wish that my wife could just sit at the table again, or I miss grandma's biscuits. And so a lot of that conversation informs even my cooking today. My kitchen will talk about something and the way we're going to treat something in it, and very frequently it has the name of either one of my clients or one of my family members that's gone. So, it'd be like, oh yeah, make Ethel's biscuits. And that's a certain biscuit, or that's Uncle Alan's stew you're up to over there. And so, that the way that we carry life and souls through our cooking and our intimate activities like food, even something like pickles, that there's heart there and there's soul there. So again, I was a social worker for almost 20 years, and one day, the agency I was with did something a little sketchy, so I had to report them to our governing bodies. And so I didn't have a job suddenly. So, I felt like a hero for a minute. I'm like Robin Hood out here. And then one of my friends calls and they're like, you have not left the house in several weeks. I was like, yeah, it's fine. And they're like, you're clearly living on nothing anyway. You don't have high costs. If you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And money were no object. And I was like, well, if I could make people soup and pickles and biscuits and pay the mortgage, that'd be pretty cool. And so they were like, well, then do that. And so the next day, I found some pants, because, I'd been in pajamas now all these weeks. And I went and I found a little restaurant that specialized in local food. And I just started sweeping the floor for them. Just chatting, get a cheer wine or something and sweep the floor. And at the time, I had a Girl Scout troop. And so, tired of seeing them bring the snack of, terrible processed food, I asked this restaurant if they'd like to sponsor the snack. And so they started doing that. And it was a bunch of kids working there. So slowly I'm like, you can't hold the knife like that. And then, ooh, don't do that. You're going to burn yourself. And just kind of started helping them until they needed somebody to help them, officially in a job. So I started working for minimum wage, washing the dishes with a couple degrees, and worked my way up from there. And I've been the executive chef at several places in town. And like he said, now I'm a sous chef at the Grayland Estates. So let's talk about hot sauce. In my pickle company, we made hot sauce and sold it for a little while. I will tell you that the reason I stopped doing that, and it was very delicious, and none of these bottles are nearly guilty of that. The only bottle that you could get in a moderate size was that tiny little bottle where you have to go like that. And it was painful for me to bottle it and watch my staff bottle it. So we just decided the reward was not worth the investment, and so we stopped doing that. Now they've got these fancy ones with snap-on tops and things like that, so maybe we should explore that again. So I'm assuming everybody here has a favorite hot sauce. And the evolution of hot sauce is, it's a familiar story. The first known plant that was cultivated by humans is widely accepted to be the chili pepper. And that was by the Aztecs in South America. And they would make a hot sauce of sorts with that, where they would mix it with herbs, salt, and water. And because there was no refrigeration, of course, the fermentation added certain character to the mixes they made. But their hot sauce was used for flavoring food. It was used in spiritual rites and ceremony. They used it as medicine, and actually to pay taxes with, which I found that was one of the most interesting. I didn't expect that fact. And then also as weapons and punishment. So, and you can think that's a very effective chemical weapon and a weapon of torture and punishment. Now, I might make some sort of assertions during this lecture but I want a disclaimer, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a physician, but there are some widely accepted benefits of hot sauce and peppers and things. So if I refer to those, I'm not trying to cure anything you got. The compound in chilies and in hot sauce that makes it what it is capsaicin. And that's because peppers come from the now I'm going to mess up some pronunciation, capsicum family. And the way that most cultures make hot sauce with a vinegar or sour or tart ingredient plus salt, and then adding and subtracting things for the specific region. elevates or masks that hotness. They think that chilies were spread across the Americas by birds because they're not capable of tasting that hotness. And so then, as the bird drops seed in one place and the seeds that survive are the one most suited for that environment. And that's the way some of our varieties have come along. Much like many discoveries, and who knows if this is true or legend, Columbus is actually credited with being the person who spread chili peppers, most widely around the world. Is that true or legend? I can't know, but several sources say that that's the case. That when he landed in South America, he was on a search for black pepper. And before that, of course, humans just called the peppers chilies. But because it made your nose run and was such a sharp taste, much like the black pepper he was in search of, he named them chili peppers. And whether it was him, his crew, or subsequent conquistadors, we can't really know. But the legend puts it to that very tidy. And then as he traveled in his career, he sold the peppers, sold the seeds to different cultures, who then cultivated different varieties that were more matching to their cuisine or to their landscape. One of the most important changes, because they all used to be very spicy apparently, and so the hot sauces were all probably a similar profile to what we know, but the Hungarians then bred the spice out of the pepper. So that's where we get our sweet paprika and our bell peppers and those sorts of varieties that aren't so loud. Let's see. With the movement of peppers around the world, like I said, the hybrids and varieties grew out of the different climates and the different cultures of the people. And hot sauce, as we recognize it today, didn't come around until around 1800. And the first widely known hot sauce was the Tabasco pepper the seed was brought to North America in 1848, not North America, America, in 1848. Tabasco was patented by 1850. So at that point, there were the first commercially made hot sauce was bird pepper, and it was made in Massachusetts. But after that, there started to be very regional hot sauces, like we know New Mexico, the green chili sauce. Louisiana's hot sauces are similar to Tabasco sauce, and the different ones even our local Texas Pete. The small bottle that I was talking about that was a pain in my neck was introduced by the Bergman's Diablo sauce in the late 1800s. So the way that we rate hot sauce is credited to Wilbur Scoville. And I didn't actually know how they made the Scoville units. I'm sure we've all heard the Scoville units, but the Scoville unit, 1 unit, is equivalent to the 1 cup of sugar water necessary to render a chili pepper or a hot sauce mild to the human palate. And that's why when you see the Scoville units, they're always given in a range of, sometimes even millions of Scoville units off, because that is not an objective test, and there is no machinery that can test the hotness of a pepper. That is measured by the human palate and actual people. So to give you a range of that, a bell pepper is 0. And then you've got a mid-range jalapeno pepper is 2,500 Scoville units to 8,000 Scoville units. And then the Carolina Reaper is the most widely accepted hottest pepper. So when you're looking at the different hot sauces that you're choosing, jalapeno is going to fall right there in the middle. And a Carolina Reaper is going to be off the charts at 1.4 to 2.2 million Scoville units. So it took 2.2 million cups of water to render 1 Carolina Reaper palatable to most people. I personally won't even taste that. I mean, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, but taste that is not one of them. So there's a debate of is hot sauce good or bad for you? Because our body reacts to it in a way that it was poison. Our eyes water, our nose runs, our mouth burns, sometimes our lips itch, or our eyes burn. And so is that good or bad for you? It's widely accepted it's good for you. Despite all of those feelings, all of those poison alerts that your body is giving you, most people assume it's good for you. And the reasons are that it's anti-inflammatory. And so we've all heard grandma say, well, I ate one of those hot peppers in vinegar. Again, having been a hospice social worker, this sat on a lot of old people's kitchen table. And so they would eat one. It's good for my arthritis. All right, grandma. Even if it's a panacea, what's that going to do harm-wise? It's an antioxidant, so it helps flush our bodies of all the environmental toxins that we come across in our lives. It also, supposedly, again, not a doctor, not a scientist, not a dietitian, increases our metabolism. If we were to eat a very spicy meal with lots of hot sauce on at midday, that it would burn an extra 300 calories. And, I couldn't find the exact reason for that, whether our body is overactive for all those poison cues and is like, oh my God, and just freaking out, which burns the calories, or if there's some other metabolic process that's going on at the same time. Or is it because you're running to and from the sink for cold water? I don't know. 300 calories is not a massive amount, so it could be many explanations for that. Given my history of social work and the workings of the mind, I found the one fact really stuck out to me. And that is, in a survey of, I think, 3,000 people, the people that were more likely to enjoy risk-taking behavior or had lives or hobbies that we would consider high risk were more likely to like spicy foods. So, your friend jumps out of planes probably likes spicy food. Your friend that has really questionable weekend nights probably likes spicy food. And I would have to say, anecdotally, I'm going to say that's true. The people in my life that I think, wow, he does some curious stuff, always puts the hot sauce on the taco. And secondary to that, always regrets that choice. So where is hot sauce going? You see my lineup here, and I've lined this up based on the Scoville units. But one thing that's interesting is as we've seen wineries and breweries and distilleries popping up, and Cobblestone Farmers Market with his artisanal little things that you can see what's different and that someone's taken some great care or even had an off-the-wall idea in a mixture. The same is happening with hot sauce. And so you're seeing the uses of different, more unusual ingredients in our standard recognized hot sauce. This is one that hit the market pretty recently, and it's made with truffle shavings and oil. And what's interesting about that is that there's nothing at all spicy about a truffle, but what it lends is the other side. So when you think of some of these, and this is the chef perspective, some of these sauces that are extremely simple and what we accept as just your average hot sauce, it's vinegar, water, and salt. And there's not a whole lot of ways to vary the profile on that. Different vinegars, sure, different salts even, varying levels of vinegar and salt, but you're still just getting a very loud version of the pepper. So in hot sauces now, they're starting to vary the ingredients they add. So you'll see berry hot sauces, fruit hot sauces, truffle hot sauce. And so you're getting more complexity, much like, our beers and our wines that are developed locally. It used to be, mama made some squeezins in the closet, tasted like rotten strawberries. And now even our local winemakers are getting more nuance to that. And the same is true for our hot sauce makers. I think that's one of the things that as our modern age that we have more access to information is that we demand a more concierge level of service in everything, including our hot sauces, In case you were curious, what's an effective relief? The only known effective relief to too much hot sauce is milk fats. The capsaicin is not fat soluble, but what the milk fats do, so grab the cup of cream or a pat of butter, and that's going to be your best relief, is it surrounds the capsaicin molecule where it cannot touch your palate. And so the people that say drink a glass of milk, they are more right than the people that, have all the other ideas. And water is probably your worst idea in that it spreads it more thoroughly in your mouth and throat. Beer, of course, you can take that avenue in that there's going to be a point that you no longer care. Right? And so do that. Let's see, the number one hot sauce in the U.S. is sriracha. And that's been around since the 70s. And that was started, a guy sold it out of the trunk of his car in California for, I think, like $10 a bottle, which seems quite expensive to me in hindsight of it being around 25 years. Until it got picked up and more. So it's not an authentic Korean product at all. It is an American-made product. that's grown around the world. Frank's Red Hot is a distant number two. Of course, our local hot sauce this is the most popular hot sauce, Texas Pete, in North Carolina, which comes as no surprise to any of us locals. And of course, Texas Pete is even like broadened their range. The thing about sriracha, and even why I couldn't get this here, and from the chef's point of view, there's been a massive shortage of genuine sriracha for the last 3 years. I don't know if when everybody got COVID, my last stop when the COVID hit the world was I was like, well, I'm gonna need to stop for a bottle of something. Some smokes and some flashlight batteries. I don't know. Like I'm sure we all like stopped for those last 3 bags of things that we thought we were gonna get through the end of the world. But apparently also people bought sriracha, and so so many of our recipe books in restaurants have sriracha in the recipe, and we've had to come up with some very creative workarounds in the last 3 years because it is absolutely unavailable. So if you've got a bottle, eBay. I saw a listing for like in the hundreds of dollars. I bet it doesn't even have to be full. Let's see. There's some interesting stats on hot sauces in in America. We sell $1.1 billion of hot sauce a year, and that is a greater number than every other recognized condiment combined. And that surprised me because I thought it used to be salsa, and I did look up that distinction, that hot sauce was listed differently than just traditional salsa or pico. And so hot sauce is the greatest selling condiment that we have in America. Worldwide, it's projected to be $4.8 billion worth of sales within the next couple years. So hot sauce is big business. And it's funny because most of our bottles are extremely inexpensive to buy, and we kind of take them for granted. But these little bottles of pepper move some money in this world. Let's see. Again, I speak really quickly, so I think I ran through my 20 minutes.
You got about 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
2 minutes.
I got almost to 20. This is great. I wasn't expecting that at all. Let's see. I think that's all of the. I will say that I did not even bring my favorite hot sauce, which is kind of wimpy. It's Valentina Red Label. I love it. I could drink it. I put it on everything I eat. It's probably closest to Cholula. And so when you guys taste, I've brought you chips to taste after we're done here. This goes from very sweet and mild, and that's Thai chili sauce, all the way up to the Carolina Reaper sauce. And I'm going to watch you and judge your choices. I'm not doing this. But I brought more mild ones than hot ones because there's a point when your palate is absolutely spent. And so whoever's getting there, I doubt you want to taste anything after that except for maybe a block of cream cheese. Thank you guys for having me, and I hope you enjoyed that.
I want to introduce 2 brothers. If you would come up, Henry and Simon. So maybe for a second or so, you could tell me what you think the age of this instrument is?
Probably 1920s or so.
1920. Wow. Fantastic. What about yours?
Wasn't it about the 80s? So it was about the 80s.
It's made in Germany.
Yes.
Yeah, made in Germany, 1980s. All right, you guys, I'll let you have it. Simon and Henry and their dad, Paul. Tanner. What's that?
What are the name of those instruments?
Tubas. Well, they're a type of tubas.
Yeah. This one's called a tenor horn, and this is a baritone.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. All right, Trish, it's your turn.
No.
I'm giving her the floor. It's all yours. There you go.
Oh my. Nervous, yes. Love to talk.
Is that going to be in your way?
Yeah, no, I love it. I meant to ask someone who would know how many words make 20 minutes, but that sounded like math, and so I don't know. But I know that David is a very fine timekeeper.
Got 19 left.
Stop! I brought my desktop, and here's my PowerPoint. And these are three fabulous human beings that are students at School of the Arts. This is Stella Morris, this is Isabella Campbell, and that's Kayla Jackson. I just want to use my time and tell you how wonderful these gatherings are, these wild minglings of mind. Okay, so dance. Yeah, I'm here to talk about contemporary dance, but I'm going to do dance is a language. So just hang on. You can follow me. Language. L, you don't have to cut. L, okay, so if you're dyslexic, this will work. I don't know which is backwards and forwards, and I don't know your preferred font, okay? L, caps. A, N, smooth operator. G, U, A, huh. G, I hope I'm spelling it right. G, E, E, E. Language. So you might say, is that an example of modern dance? Oh, contemporary dance, interchangeable. Contemporary sounds sexier. So dance is a language. And so I guess I always wanted to, be Tina Turner or somebody. And so here's my chance to have backup singers. So dance is a language. It's a communication. The instrument is the human body. The goal, expression. Modern dance or contemporary dance can be about anything. Subject to the artist's interests, passions, curiosity, research. Life and the human condition is the contemporary dancer's laboratory. I began my life in dance at the age of 5. That was a few years ago. And I started dancing because I wanted to learn how to play the piano. My life has kind of been like that. There was a piano in my house. I thought someone should be playing it. I asked my mom to take me to piano lessons. She did, and she was not about to hear me practice. So she put me in the car and took me to my first dance class, a local studio, which in the trade might be referred to as a Dolly Dinkle studio. I don't like that, because if there were not the local studios, there would be no dancers to enroll at the School of the Arts. So She laid down the cornerstone, the foundations of my love for dance. First of all, showing up like you did tonight, the delight of the body in motion, how to pay attention, how to sustain that attention, being respectful, leaving the personal at the threshold. She always said that when you walk into class, you just leave that stuff behind. It was a very positive way for me to use what you might say ample energy that I had. So 60 years later, I'm still here, loving what I love, knowing dance and movement and creativity as I do. I'm a very fortunate human. I am not a fan of the word expert, so I don't consider myself an expert, but maybe I consider myself, are you here to tell me what time it is? I consider myself an investor, and not by money, but I've invested my life, my heart and soul and sweat in it. Our little city here, Winston-Salem, has a gem of immeasurable value, the School of the Arts. If you want to know what modern dance is, contemporary dance, come see a show. They're contemporary dance majors. Little acre, 2 miles away, most creative, wonderful, independent thinking, sometimes a little troublemaking, radical, searching, talented human beings, students and faculty. This is where I basically grew up after Miss Hazel. It's where I studied and trained and learned, or I began the learning of modern and contemporary dance. In the beginning, I was so dang naive. If you'd said Martha Graham, for all I knew, she invented graham crackers. But live and learn, right? So the amount of discipline required, the technique, the strengthening, the stretching, the coordination, the expression, the art of making dances, the resources that we have in our body and mind, in nature, in society, all of these ideas can be the reason to create contemporary dance. Contemporary dance is as diverse as the number of artists making it. That's the best way I can say it. This dance form, which may be one of the most challenging to describe exactly what it is, it really came from the swinging of the pendulum, but doesn't everything. So there was ballet. We know what ballet is. It has a certain aesthetic. Its roots came from the courts in Europe, and they would have dance to entertain their guests and to impress their guests, but that dance always came from the street. It came from the people. It came from the folk. And then they dressed it up and made the minuet and the gavotte and the different dances. Okay, I'm so nervous about the time. I don't do well with time. I would venture to say that all dance comes from the people, ultimately. The dance of the folk. So court dance borrowed movement from the street dancers, from folk dance. It evolved into ballet, which became more and more, through the centuries and through decades, virtuosic. And you can see that everywhere. They're just like on automatic pilot. And then, at a certain point, here come the rebels, the swinging of the pendulum. The rebels, the revolutionaries, the radicals, they wanted to take off their bras and the tutus, and they wanted free-flowing garments. They wanted to dance about whatever they wanted to dance about. They wanted to dance wherever they wanted to dance. Trish, follow your notes. They wanted dance to be about something more than the idyllic, more than the imagined beings and spirits. Something, whether it's enchanted or forlorn, they saw more, they wanted more. They were not about leaving the earthly plane, they were about moving into the earth. So dance could be more free. So I already said that about the music and the no bras. So I've got names written down here, but always the problem with giving any names is invariably you leave people out, which I don't like, but I'm going to give some anyway. So Isadora Duncan was kind of our great-great-great-great-grandmother. Loie Fuller, Mary Vigman, Ruth St. Denis, Ted Shawn, Doris Humphrey, Charles Weidman, some of the names. Some borrowed from the ballet vocabulary, some were deathly opposed to such. And dance is like, it's just like families and ancestry. It's a family tree, right? We have lineages. Contemporary dance has such an interesting family tree, from roots to limbs to buds still forming. Dancers, contemporary dancers, are artists, athletes, poets, animals, researchers, archaeologists, scientists, seekers, boundary pushers. And I say that not figuratively, they're not all scientists. They're disciplined, passionate, curious, devoted, focused, creative, determined, tenacious, strong work ethic, resourceful, articulate, with their inquiry and expression coming up and out of the wisdom of the human body. But Trish, you still haven't said, what is contemporary dance? The questions always come about, and it usually is like, okay, I got it. It's not ballet. I said, right. So it's jazz, right? And no. Lyrical? No. Social dance? No. Liturgical dance? No. Ballroom? Come on, Trish. Street dance? Folk dance? The answer is yes. Yeah, it's yes. So it can be any of this or none of this or any combination of this. It's the expression of the pursuit of the individual artist, their inclinations, their particular abilities. It's hard to nail down, and it's harder still to describe. It can be about something or about nothing. Greek dramas, the psychological, historical, political, abstract, literal, movement for movement's sake, I think Merce Cunningham. Celebration of the human spirit, I think Jose Limon. Musically driven, Paul Taylor, Mark Morris. Deeply personal, drawn out from a book, a poem, a work of visual art, a piece of music, a film, a personal story, nature. Anything in our human existence can fuel the existence and expression of contemporary dance. It can be highly rhythmic, it can be extremely physical, it can be very, very still. I've heard it said by someone that I know very well that they thought that contemporary dance was the hardest art form to understand or maybe appreciate. Certainly the most perplexing. Why? Well, because it doesn't come in a neat, sweet package. It doesn't come with easy explanations, or maybe not even easily digested messages. Maybe it exposes more than the pretty, the beautiful. Maybe it's not so easy to look at. And then you can say, but Trish, what does running in a circle mean? Well, I don't know. It can be on stage. It can be a concert dance with proscenium stage. It can be in alternate spaces, museums, outside, in a lake. Aiko and Koma, Japanese artist, they performed in the lake down at Duke Gardens. I appreciate the quote that I once heard, which I think is pretty fitting for some, not all contemporary dance. Art is to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. I think modern dance has done a pretty good job of that. How am I doing on time? I'm getting there.
2 minutes.
Oh, man. Okay, so my lineage, if I go backwards, I have to skim it. It's Pauline Coner from school, and Jose Limon, and Doris Humphrey, and Michio Ito, and Mikhail Fokin, who was a Russian ballet choreographer. Like, these are my grandparents. And so that's kind of dating back to the late 1800s, 1900, and it becomes a relay. The baton is passed. We keep some of what has influenced us. We cast off what we don't subscribe to, and this is the path of the contemporary dancer. Many very famous collaborations, Cunningham and Cage, Martha Graham and Noguchi, Palavelis and Halston. That's when I was in New York. So many legends: Mary Wigman, Rudolph von Laban, Pearl Primus, Lester Horton, Carmen de Lavalade, Alvin Ailey, Alwyn Nicolai, Murray Lewis, Paul Taylor, Meredith Monk, an incredible vocalist, Twyla Tharp, Mark Morris, Momix, post-Buto groups, Pina Bausch, Bill T. Jones, Remy Charlotte, Trisha Brown, B.B. Miller, Iko and Coma I've already mentioned. Some have had companies, some have companies, some are choreographers. No, not every dancer makes a teacher. I think we can understand that. Some have developed techniques: Graham, Lamone, Cunningham, Horton, Gaga. There's film Mr. Gaga. So did the, dang, but I just, okay, well, you know, so I just start dancing with him. So, you know, people want to know, did the technique come first or the artistic expression? It's the chicken or the egg, and I've had some pretty heated discussions about this. There have been, I am wrapping up, I really am, David. So there have been movements in Europe, the Bauhaus, postmodern, Judson Church Group, talking about a swing of the pendulum, anything could be dance. Black Mountain College, let's hear it for North Carolina. And there have been schools and festivals that have promoted contemporary dance. And Bennington College, Connecticut College, where American Dance Festival. If you want to see contemporary dance, go down 40, out 40 to American Dance Festival in Durham. You will be exposed to the world of contemporary dance. I'm really finishing. So I guess I'm not going to say any of that. There's this thing called immersive theater that's in New York. This show called Sleep No More, based on Macbeth. It was a whole hotel, McKittrick Hotel, was rented out, and I got to see that. I've never seen anything like it, and of course there was a UNCSA alumni in it. So I guess I'll end with this. I saw this Korean choreographer years ago down in Durham, and there was a Q&A afterwards, and I really don't enjoy staying for them sometimes, but I did stay. It was some of the freshest, most unique and creative work I'd ever seen, and the audience wanted to know how she created her work. And she talked, it was quite humble, and she said that for her, the creative process as a contemporary dancer and choreographer was a bit like shamanic work. I'm like, and she says what she meant by that is you walk to the edge of all that you know and you take one step further. So it's that land of the imagination and what exists there. So I wrote more, David, but I did get to the last page.
Save it for the Q&A. Thank you.
How many sets did you do?
Questions?
On that hot sauce, how did Carolina get stuck on that name?
The company is in the Carolinas, and I don't remember now if it was North Carolina or South Carolina, but the name of the company is called Pucker Butt.
Yeah, there's a Netflix special on that.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up tonight. So
I can't
so
remember the show, but it spotlights him in the whole hot pepper contest. And it spotlights that company. I can't remember the Netflix show. I'll try to look it up.
Okay, yeah, I'll look for that tonight. Thank you for bringing that up.
Next question. Trish, I have a question for you. How do dancers warm up?
Again, it's highly individual. You know, they need to make loose what's tight and strengthen what's weak and move into their body, embodied, you know, it's such a popular word these days, but they really need to move into their body through breath and concentration and certain exercises that would be specific to probably the choreography that they were going to dance, and to get their body prepared but not overspent. So it's a little fine thing.
Has there ever been a dance performed in a kitchen?
Oh, I'm sure there have.
All day, every day.
Every night, right? Every night.
Right.
Picking up on that note, Nikki, I'm curious to hear from you what resonated about Trisha's remarks on contemporary dance as it relates to your profession.
That's interesting. First of all, kitchen work is a dance. It's highly choreographed. Because I've not been at this job very long, but I've been with the same crew for many years. I got more injuries the first week at this new job than I have in a decade. And the reason is we hadn't danced together yet. And so, just touching a hot surface, my body wasn't prepared for that. And so there's so much automatic, much like in dance, that your body knows how to move a certain way to get something done. Flipping an egg is a pirouette, right? And so, yes, I drew the two topics together. Because my crew knows I cannot dance, and they were like, "This is gonna be golden." I was like, "I'm gonna pull something out here, guys." But yes, the whole thing is a dance, and it's the reason we don't have to look, and the way that dance goes sometimes by a beat, we go by sounds and smells and calls, and so I know to stick my hand out, and there is the plate. I don't have to look, and it's in my hand and into the window. So so many professions, I guess, are like that, where it's 50% dance and so much wrote in dance and rhythm.
I don't know about this thing.
We broke it.
Is it blinking?
It's blinking. It looks like Christmas.
Green in a second.
It has to connect, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope that answers your question.
We are
Okay, good. We are the champions on Netflix about hot sauce. So you guys can check my facts then.
Nikki, I have a question for you. How do we
Yes.
make hot sauce at home?
How do you make hot sauce at home? The easiest way to do that is to get your favorite pepper and blend it up with vinegar and some salt. Taste it, and it should taste good. Now you sit it on the counter for 2 weeks while you skim off any funky goodness on the top, and that will ferment it, and you'll get a lot more complexity in the flavor. You can also adjust after a point that it's where you want it to be and it's funky goodness. You put it to bed in the refrigerator because it won't stop the bacterial growth, but it slows it down. It makes everybody go to sleep, and then you can taste again and adjust for sweetness, for salt, for any other elements that you want to put in there. A fast way to do it too is this method, the grandma method, I like to call it, where you just get some peppers and you put them in straight vinegar and you just sit that on the kitchen table forever. And as your vinegar goes down, you make sure that the fruit that's in your jar never falls below the vinegar line, because the acidity of the vinegar makes sure that nothing bad can grow in there. And that I will say is backed up by the North Carolina Department of Agriculture, is that they don't look at pickles particularly hard for any sort of foodborne illness or bacterial growth, because the element of the salt and the vinegar keep it to a point that it can't really grow. So yeah, it's the pickle crock thing. You just keep adding peppers and vinegar or peppers and salt, and eventually hot sauce.
Great, thank you.
I have a sambal that is 5 years old at this point. My friend and I, my best friend, we pass it back and forth, or we think, what it asked for is this. If we've got something like, this is beautiful honey, I think the sambal wants it. Alms to the sambal.
Hello. My question is for Trish. Nikki mentioned a little bit of the history of hot sauce and how it moved geographically. Where does contemporary dance stem from? Does it pull from other cultures? Is this going back, dating 300, 400 years? Do you know kind of where it birthed?
I was afraid I was going to have someone ask me a history question. Christina, maybe you could answer better. Isadora is American, was American, but she went to Europe. And Loie Fuller was, so there was a European seeding of this. And, I think it's fair to say, so I wouldn't really know how to answer you. In terms of folk dance, which is not contemporary dance, but that does come from the different cultures. And dance is used for various reasons. So, I think it's fair to say that contemporary dance is so much like a fusion. And now Europe, and so I guess it's fair to say that contemporary dance is largely an American dance form. I don't know if you would agree, Christina, but yeah. So, yeah, I think that's it. And, and now there's contemporary ballet. Everybody wants to label it something. So, and that's very strong and present in Europe, especially. So I don't think I answered your question, world fusion, but with a strong American foothold. And I love your answer. Isn't everything a dance? Isn't everything?
And wouldn't modern contemporary dance have originated when the first body could move?
Yeah, I would say so. So it belongs to the people. And the other thing is, I so love you talking about. It's all timing, isn't it? Everything's about timing. Cooking, dancing, living, traffic.
Trish, I have a question. I'm back here. Hi.
Hi.
How do you go about beginning to choreograph a contemporary piece? And also thinking about, I think about contemporary pieces that also include the sound of the dancers breathing and sounds as well as movement.
Thank you for the questions, all of these. I guess you get tired of hearing my response, but it is so individual. Some people are motivated strongly by music. I have a colleague, as far as she's concerned, the one composer is Bach and classical music, and she choreographs to the music. I use music, but I've never choreographed to the music. Some people are kind of socially driven. So it has something to do with the artist's inclinations and interests. And for me, if I've said it once, I've said a million times, I'll start into the creative process I don't know what I'm doing. But I think for me, it was more of a personal, a very subjective thing. There was usually a chorus of dancers and a central female figure, which was a seeker. It's probably something about me seeking, but it's up to the artist how they go. Some start with music, some find music, some never use music, some hate to hear dancers breathing, some people want breathing, some people want text. Some people are there to make controversy, and you just start. And if you're lucky, you have a beautiful group of dancers, interpreters. I mean, they're your kitchen people. They get the plate.
Recipe starts the same way. I can have an idea in my head, but at some point, the ingredient, the plate, or the circumstance tell me what it wants to be. Now, there's always a recipe you're following because you're making that same thing to order. I'm sure sometimes you dance the dance that the benefactor wants, because that's what they've ordered. But then when you're doing it yourself, sometimes you think you're going to go somewhere and you don't go anywhere near that.
She would have answered the question better, and she did.
That was verbal dancing. See.
Can you come up with a dance move for one of these hot sauces?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.